We're going to continue our conversation around electric mobility now, and I'm very pleased to welcome to our virtual stage Amit Kalyani, Deputy Managing Director of Bharat Forge, and Anand Shah, the founder of Dhamiri. So Amit, first of all, can you introduce yourself and tell me what you are doing in terms of how you're contributing to this future of electric mobility in India?
Sure. So the company that I represent is a major manufacturer of automotive components and systems for pretty much every large global auto manufacturer in India, in Asia, in Europe, and in the North American continent. And as we see the writing on the horizon, about 5 years ago, we created a strategy of how do we help uh, progress the whole EV value chain by contributing our components and technologies to make those products lighter, better, and more effective. So
And
we chose to play in three. So go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So we started with we looked at three horizons. So we started with the domain that we know best, which is metallurgy, and we started applying new technologies of using aluminum through a completely recycled process. So we don't use or waste any aluminum, and we buy anything that is wasted from the process and we recycle it, and it's a green technology which we patented, and that helps make products that are competitive, strong, yet very, very green with a 40% lower carbon footprint. So that was the first step. The second step was how do we look beyond just metals and metal formed parts into subsystems, including electronics and power electronics and control electronics, especially for the Indian markets, because all that was currently being imported. And if we can make it in India and make it to scale, then we can bring the cost down and provide a high quality product. And the third is how do we become part of the ecosystem and look at longer term initiatives such as the circular economy, urban mining, and recycling of e waste in order to create the raw materials for future products.
So tell me, Anand, I'd like you to put yourself in this picture of electric mobility. Where does your company sit?
So these days, I advise companies on aligning their business with public interest. And I think that increasingly globally, public interest is moving towards an emissions-free transportation sort of context. My own history is I spent a number of years working for BMW on future mobility, looking at electrification and autonomy, particularly in Europe and in the US. I led the starting of a company in India called Ola Electric that was brought out of Ola, which is a ride-hailing firm, the largest ride-hailing firm in India, and they deliver many kilometers on a daily basis of people going from one place to the other. The question we had was, can we transfer those kilometers to a zero-emission format? And in that process, learned a lot about the potential of India as an emerging sort of EV or zero-emission vehicle home for the world, especially given India's place in development. It's at a place where consumption of vehicles and vehicle kilometers traveled is going to increase dramatically. It happens to be fortunate at a moment where the rest of the world is trying to shed itself of a history of spewing dirty air into the atmosphere in order to get from one place to the other. And that creates a significant opportunity for India to leapfrog into a new set of technologies and be a global leader, as well as one that has a different domestic sort of makeup of how people move.
So electric vehicles quite often perform better than their internal combustion engine counterparts, but we still know that battery efficiency is an issue. I have a hybrid. The battery doesn't last, more than 60 miles for me. High cost, another issue for many consumers. I wonder if you could tell me, Amit, where you think you're seeing the most interesting innovations in these areas.
So I think India is a slightly different market than the rest of the world. If you've ever been here, you've seen the kind of traffic we have.
I've been
and
there. I've experienced that
more.
traffic.
I'm sure you have. So a predominant number of vehicles on the road are two-wheelers, which are used by people to go to work and home. And typically, these people do not commute more than 50 to 60 kilometers a day. And these two-wheelers, which approximately 18 million a year are sold in India, are, I think, the prime candidates for conversion to electric for three simple reasons. One, the cost of gasoline or petrol in India is prohibitively high. The cost differential after the incentives between a simple two-wheeler, electric two-wheeler, and a comparative gasoline two-wheeler is not very substantive. And the payback for this in terms of ROI is less than 2.5 years. So I look at a simple model that I have 2,000 employees who drive a two-wheeler to work every day. I have solar charging or solar rooftops which can provide charging, and I can charge their batteries when they're at work. They're parked for 8 hours or 7 hours a day, and you can easily charge those vehicles within 2 hours each, and they get the kind of mileage they need. And these vehicles don't need 200-mile range. All you need is between 60 to 80 miles, which is about 100 to 120 or 125 kilometers. So that is one use case. The same use case exists for light commercial vehicles, which are used for business deliveries within the city. They again do not have large travel distance. They are used for a longer time because of traffic. And the third is school buses and staff buses, which are again working for 4 hours a day and parked for 20 hours and can again be charged. So these are vehicles which are within the city, which can be easily converted to electric and generate a good ROI for their owners and be completely clean. So I think that's the direction we need to head in. It has to be one where it makes economical sense without being a burden on either the ecology or the economy.
Anand, can you talk to me about commercial electric vehicles? Because I know that these heavy transport trucks are one of the harder nuts to crack in terms of the electrification puzzle. So I wonder if you could tell me about any innovations that you see in this area.
Sure. I mean, commercial involves lots of different types of vehicles in India. So that could range from two-wheelers that are delivering food or delivering goods. It could three-wheelers, which are very common in India, that move both goods and people on a very regular basis. Four-wheelers in the light truck format. The Tata Ace is the best known of those that move goods in mid-mile. And then there's heavy-duty trucking, which moves on highways, of which India, has a limited number, but they're very clear in terms of locations, and the infrastructure to support them also exists. The reason commercial vehicles are such an interesting opportunity for electrification is the person who owns a commercial vehicle cares about their costs. Those costs are fuel costs, those costs are the cost of maintenance, those costs are the cost of depreciation, and as Amit noted, that electrification in terms of cost of operation is significantly cheaper already than imported diesel and imported petrol, which India follows. Secondly, that the price of batteries is going down quite dramatically, and India's ability to build capacity to make batteries domestically, whether that's from virgin raw material or from urban recycling, being able to extract it from batteries that have died, whether that's from cell phones or otherwise from wherever in the world, is also significant. The third piece of this that I think often gets overlooked is India has made very significant commitments in renewable energy, whether it's wind or it's solar, as Amit noted. And in order for wind or solar to be able to replace oil or coal, you need batteries. You need to have storage that's able to offset the usage time from when it's produced. And electric vehicles, especially heavy duty ones that can take significant amount of energy, makes that possible. For example, you could charge large batteries, in the middle of the afternoon when solar is at, total peak, and use that power, in the evening when solar is not producing. And this solves a larger systemic problem for India's investment in clean energy as well. And it's a long way out, but these things coming together are a confluence, a sort of perfect storm that could be very, very interesting. And commercial vehicles tend to be the lowest hanging fruit, given their cost optimization needs.
I wanted to get a question in here from someone in our audience who's watching. We have a video question that's been sent in by a student at Birmingham City University. Let's play that for you now.
I'm Kiran from Sirsa, a small town of northern Indian state, Haryana. Currently, I'm enrolled at Birmingham City University studying international MBA. My question to the esteemed panel is, I love electric mobility. I would love to have electric car that gives off as little emission as possible. But 100 apprehensions come to mind. That where do I charge my car? What if in India I want to make a cross-country trip? Is it even a realistic possibility as of 2020?
So what if she wants to make that cross-India trip, Amit? What advice can you have for her when she's going to be able to do it?
Okay, so two things. I think battery swapping is a technology that is well established, and there are many players, including people who are currently in the gasoline vending business, gas pumps and gas stations, who are now going to get into battery vending and battery swapping. So I think if you see this, if you want to make a long trip along a highway, you may end up seeing various different battery swapping stations. So I think it's not tomorrow, but in the next 1 or 2 years, you will start seeing this happen selectively. So I think it's on the horizon.
Thank you. So one final question I think we've got time for. Anand, what about the impact on electric vehicles on jobs? We know that electric vehicles take fewer parts, great for consumers in terms of maintenance, but not so good for the number of people who might be working within the automotive sector.
So, I think that there's a couple of things to note. As it is already, the electrification is coming. We know that, right? It's happening all over the world. And the question is whether you can exist in the technology of internal combustion engines 15 or 20 years from now. That will also disappear. Now, so the first question is, how do we create jobs and transition jobs that may be mobility related or vehicle repair related to a new revolution? There are lots of things to still be invented, right? In the drivetrain, in the power and drive units, in the batteries, in how they're connected. There's lots of things that still need to be maintained, whether that's windshield wipers or it's brakes or it's drive units being changed. It's not that people are going to move less and we're going to stop using vehicles. We're using a new type of vehicle that still takes the roads and takes the pain of moving, and those things will continue. These jobs, if we can train our folks to be able to understand batteries, electronics, etc. really well, these are new economy jobs that are competitive globally, right? If we do that today, we'll be able to repair the cars and diagnose them around the world. And just as a small example at the last bit of time, the most interesting move is that the guys who used to make and fix radios in India are now the folks fixing electric vehicles in the corners of India. So it's creating jobs at the same time.
Thank you so much.
May I say something really quick?
Yeah, please get in
So
there.
I have a slightly philosophical question or answer, and that is, technology and development breeds opportunity. The assembly line created new opportunities. Moving into automation created new opportunities. So all these businesses which are resident because of friction and waste will create new opportunities. Hey, Elon is talking about colonizing Mars. So as Anand said, there's a lot that's yet to be discovered and a lot to be done. So I don't think that's going to be a challenge.
Thank you so much, Amit and Anand, for joining me in this discussion about electric mobility.